The best bits of Florida, the Noles, no snow, no state income tax, and the white sands of the Gulf beaches. And the White Sands Breakfast Blend from DeLuna Coffee. A combination of 5 different beans, some roasted to a light roast, some to a dark roast. The end product, a perfect blend that will perk you up better than a day on the beach. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com to browse all their top shelf blends and check out their Facebook and Instagram. DeLuna Coffee, all one word. DeLuna Coffee, proudly owned and operated by the Lemmix family. Loyal and passionate FSU alums.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan
and Corey Clark.
I've seen better days.
And the bottom drops out.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Promo code Warchant15 will save you 15% over at the website. Also lets them know that you listen to this podcast and that it's worth investing into this great program that's co-hosted by myself and Corey Clark. We work for Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. If you're listening to us on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If you're on an Apple iOS device, podcast app, 5-star rating, and a review if you'd like. If you want to let your fingers go crazy and say some nice things about us, that would be super appreciated. Corey Clark, I appreciate you, man. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. Thanks for asking. How you doing?
I'm good. Good. Last show of the week. First week of the year in the books almost. What a time to be alive. Glad we're all here together. You feeling all right? Feeling a little bit better?
I think I sound better.
You do?
I'm not nearly as congested. I feel like I'm almost back to normal, but now I've developed a little bit of a cough and can't taste. So got all that working for me. So the only thing I can taste, it's weird. So I ordered some chicken tenders last night with honey mustard, and I could taste the honey mustard. And then I had one of Brady's garlic Parmesan wings and could taste that. But then like a regular Coca-Cola, no dice. I might as well be drinking Diet Coke, which I am now because I can't taste the sweetness of the regular Coke. So, and then I've developed a little bit of a cough. So it's not quite – I feel perfect. Like I could go walk. I have walked. I feel really good. It's just, an annoying cough, and then I can't taste.
My brother said one of his friends last year had it and literally was like gargling with whiskey, and he's like, I can't taste anything. It sounds dangerous.
I haven't tried that yet. I need to go do like the Hot Ones challenge on YouTube, the hot wing stuff. Like I want to go do the bomb and see if it even bothers me at all. I should do that. I should go get some like the hottest sauce and see if it even does anything to me. If it still makes me sweat, even if I can't taste it. It's a good point. I should try that.
All right, we're doing a Renegade Express edition of the program today. All your questions, we got about a dozen of them, so we'll get through these as quickly as we possibly can. But sincerely and with well thought out answers, hopefully. But some personnel notes. Jordan Eubanks, freshman linebacker out of Texas, announced that he was entering the transfer portal. I don't think he saw any action this past season. I think when we were at practice, he was usually running scout team defense. But Texas Product has put his name into the portal. And then maybe more urgently, Jamie Robinson announced that he's returning for 2022. So
you think that's more
positive.
Urgent than Eubanks leaving, the kid that never played, and then your leading returning tackler coming back? Man, that's huge news. Jamie Robinson, and I don't know how realistic it was for him to bounce after a year, but he was certainly eligible, and he had good film. Mm-hmm. He led you in interceptions and tackles. That's a huge deal to have him back. Center fielder of the defense, quarterback of the defense, maybe even a better term, catcher of the defense, whatever baseball term up the middle you want to use. I just think that's you have your best defensive back coming back, and we already think you're going to be better at linebacker. Uh-huh. Your secondary will be as good, if not better, because who are you going to lose otherwise? Like your secondary should be better because they'll all be older. Your linebacker core will be older. Now it's just a matter of the defensive line. But man, that's he was the third best player, definitely the third best player on the defense, maybe the third or fourth best player on the team overall. And he's coming back when he could have gone pro. So that's a huge deal for Florida State.
Yeah. Now ball's in your court. Fabian, just go ahead and let us know already, man. We're a little bit. I mean, I think you're coming back, but you could possibly leave. Just a little bit nervous. Let us know. Trying to figure this whole thing out. Trying to run a football team program. So
yeah, right.
No big rush, but yeah, that's a very.
Did you see Miami had a pretty big kid enter the portal. Is the tackle number 1, defensive tackle?
No, I didn't see this really.
Silvestri. He was like a 5-star a few years ago.
Nesto or something.
I think I looked him up. I looked up his stats. Clearly, I didn't look it up enough to retain his name. I want to say his first name is Nate, but I could be completely wrong. Not that anybody cares what his first name is, but he stood out when they played Florida State. Like, that guy's a load. He's a good player, man. I think he ended up having like 36 tackles and 5.5 tackles for loss. They're not numbers that are going to wow you, but defensive tackles don't have numbers that wow you. I'm sure those numbers rivaled what Lovett did, and I thought Lovett had a really good year. You're not going to put up big numbers at defensive tackle, but the point being, hey man, if you want to come up north, get away from the beach, right near the beach. You still got 30 minutes if you're in Tallahassee. You can get to a beach
at least.
But maybe you don't want to be that close to a beach. But yeah, he put his name in the portal, which is no matter if he's even thinking about Florida State, I have no idea. But it's bad news for Miami because that guy was going to be a key contributor for them in 2022.
Nesta Jade Silvera. There you go. I said Nesto. My bad. Nesta. So, 16 TFLs, 2 sacks, and an all-ACC honorable mention. Yeah, man. We'll take that.
Well, either way, it's just a loss for Miami.
That's what I'm saying. We'll take that. Yeah. At minimum, they got worse.
Sure.
So we'll accept that. Wow, nice little statement he wrote.
And I love
there.
that before we started recording, did you see that the A&M quarterback committed to Auburn?
Yeah.
Calzada. Isn't that where's Brad? So Brad Johnson's kid is at A&M, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So who else went to Auburn? Did another LSU quarterback transfer to Auburn recently?
I don't think so. They lost
either way,
Bo Nix. That's all I remember.
The SEC West is just crazy how incestuous.
Yeah.
It's nuts, right? Like, they all coach at the same schools. They're all going to go to the same schools. Like, I'm not really feeling it here. Let me go about 200 miles east and see if I like the SEC better from that view, from that vantage point. It's just, again, it is what it is. But I just thought that's funny that now he's going to be, if he wins the job, he's going to be playing against his former teammates. And who knows if Brad Johnson's kid will even win the starting spot to play against his former teammates.
Oh, no, I do think, I think KJ Finley, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the guy that backed up Bo Nix's passes. I think he transferred in from LSU. So, yeah, something.
Okay.
They're
all right. There you go.
It's all tied in together. But, hey, man, this is, again, I mean, it's going to take some time, I guess, getting used to it. But I like this. I like transfer portal. I like it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to open your Twitter and see all these guys jumping around, going to new places. TJ Finley, I think his name is. I screwed that all up. Sorry, I was trying to find out what I was doing here. Yeah, TJ Finley. I apologize. He was LSU. Now he's at Auburn. But I like the portal. I like it, Corey. I like free agency in college football. I'd like if my team maybe was a little more active. Although they've been active, I would like to get that Zach Evans
man, they already
kid,
got
the running back.
Got 6.
TCU, that would have been pretty cool.
Oh, well.
Can't get them all.
Where'd he end up going?
Ole Miss. Which, speaking of incestuous, they're going to lose their defensive coordinator to Jimbo. So
to Texas A&M. So he's going to coach against the kids he just recruited and coached for the last 2 years. Yeah. Oh, it's what it is. It's what a sport.
All right, let's get on some ponies. Let's answer some questions. Drill Sergeant Porter starts us off. Wake up. 2 questions this week. First, what do you think the score would be if 2013 FSU played 2001 Miami? At their college age, not right now, of course. Ooh, this is
Florida State would definitely have an advantage now.
Yeah,
if they were playing today, they still got guys in the league. Yeah. Look, man, close.
Yeah.
Florida State has in my opinion, a big advantage at quarterback.
Yes.
But Miami had 17 first-rounders on that team. Now, they all didn't play for that team. Like, Kellen Winslow was on that team, but he wasn't a part of the team. You know what I mean? He was redshirting or barely playing. But they ended up having 17 first-rounders on that team.
Jeremy Shockey.
Yeah,
though.
man.
That's the thing. Like it was like he was on the team, he wasn't playing, but it wasn't like they screwed up the personnel.
Yeah, they only had Jeremy Shockey. Yeah, exactly. They had Andre Johnson out wide, but you had Kelvin Benjamin when Kelvin Benjamin cared and was freaky. It's tough. It's tough. You had to when you go position by position. You probably give the edge to Miami slightly, just because again, go look at that team. It's nuts. They also had Ed Reed. But you had Jalen Ramsey.
Sean
but
Taylor.
It's older Ed Reed versus younger. Yeah, and you had Sean Taylor, but it's young Sean Taylor. So,
right.
I would say 35-34. Comes down to whether Jimbo wants to go for two or kick an extra point.
I was gonna go 34-31 Florida State. But this is a Dabo 2013 game. This is if those two teams played 10 times, Florida State's winning 5, Miami's winning 5. Like I don't think anybody's winning 6. It'd be amazing. I would say I think LSU. The more this Joe Burrow guy shows that he's really great, they might end up jumping both of us. But that's maybe.
I just think the difference is that LSU team wasn't as stacked on defense.
Right. Right.
So, that LSU team was going to put up 30 on anybody it played, maybe even NFL teams. Good grief. Look at the wide receivers he had to throw to. But defensively, Florida State was going to put up 40 on them. So was Miami.
Yeah.
Look, Miami had an edge at running back for sure. They had – and you had Telvin, but you weren't incredible at linebacker. They had a couple, I think, first-round picks at linebacker, DJ Williams and – somebody else who
Vilma.
I just assume they're all
Vilma's on that team.
Was Vilma on that team? Yeah, jeez, man. So what this came up a lot around 2015 with Florida State fans because they make the claim, and it's not a crazy one, that the 13 team is maybe the best college football team of all time or close to it. And that happened around 15 when all these guys like Darby, Jernigan, all these guys were doing well in the league. PJ Williams, who's still he's still out there, man.
Yeah, man.
8 years later, 8 years in. Carlos Williams had a good run there his rookie year. So, but when you look at the totality of the seasons they played, they were very, very similar. Like Miami beat the bejesus out of almost everyone. They had one close game, maybe two. The Boston College game. Where I think it was the Boston College game where Ed Reed ripped the ball away from his own teammate and went and scored.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter, and then the Virginia Tech game where they completely dominated Virginia Tech, but it came down to a 2-point conversion. I think there was a block punt. Virginia Tech hit a weird play, maybe had a pick six or something. They dominated the game, but they barely won it, which was their Auburn game. Meanwhile, Florida State's only real close game was the Auburn game in the championship game. I think Miami gets maybe a little too much credit because they blew out a bad Nebraska team in the championship game. But otherwise, man, they're very even. So I know we've got a show to do, and now we've talked 10 minutes on this hypothetical that was only his first question, and we haven't even answered. I'm going to say Florida State 35-34 just because this is Wake Up Warchant. If this was Wake Up Hurricanes, I would say Miami 35-34.
If you're on ESPN though, and you're speaking to the masses. I'd probably still take Florida State. I would still take. I'd stay strong. I'd stay strong even on a neutral field. All right, second question.
I also think you had a coaching advantage.
Yes.
Can I say that?
Well, hey,
no
shots at Randy Shannon. He was the DC. I'm sure he would have crossed up Jimbo big time, right?
Well, you had Pruitt. It's hard to imagine a team running a normal traditional offense like Miami did back then was just going to roll up and down the field on that Florida State team. You know what I mean? It just like Auburn ran what they ran, which was a bear to prepare for, and they had a dude. I'm going to go ahead and say that Nick Marshall's a little bit more athletic than Ken Dorsey, so that made it a whole different ball game. But just a statue quarterback that's a game manager against that Florida State defense, I just don't see it putting up a 50 points. But he did have Andre Johnson. Maybe Santana Moss. I can't remember if Moss was on. I don't think Moss was on that team. No. He had left. But just Shockey and Andre Johnson and Roscoe Parrish,
correct.
People like that.
Kevin Beard, those guys. So,
mm-hmm.
All right, second part of the question. Do you think Coach Bobby Bowden would have several more national titles if he would have gotten over the hump and won his first one sooner? Thank you again. And as always, go Noles. Well, I know because
no.
In '87, is he chasing Is he going for 2 if he already had won one? But, I mean, were they even really close to winning a national title before 1987 to where maybe he plays that a little bit more conservatively and could have squeaked by and got another national title? No, I agree with you. Yeah, no.
I think that lends itself to, like, there was too much added pressure on him but it's not like once he won the first one, the floodgates opened. It took him another 6 years. Even though, if you recall, he had some pretty good teams in that stretch, Aslan. So no, I thought the question was going to be if the playoffs were around.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Would he have more national titles? And the answer to that is absolutely. Probably 3 more. But they weren't. Nick Saban gets to get them all, so good for him. That was the beauty, though. Like, Florida State back in the day was the Alabama, like in 2000. They would be the one that got the benefit of the doubt. Or 98 even. Like, one-loss teams versus one-loss teams. Well, we're taking Florida State. Just like, Alabama this year wasn't all that great. Almost lost a few games and lost one. And they were still number 1 in the country because they beat Georgia. So Florida State got they got that benefit of the doubt back in the 90s because they were always so good and so dominant.
Yeah, look at the 2000 season. They had one loss against Miami. So did Miami, and they got in ahead of Miami.
Yeah, but the beauty of that was Washington only had 1 loss. And Miami lost to Washington.
Right. Marcus
so
Tuiasosopo.
That was the only thing that helped Florida State that year. It's like if Washington had lost another game, then Miami, I think you have to put Miami in because they would have had the same record as Florida State and they beat Florida State. But then Washington's sitting there being like, what about us? We beat Miami. We only have 1 loss. Why did we not get in? So Florida State went in. Florida State got in and put up 2 whole points.
In the fourth quarter with
good times.
2 minutes left or something, too.
Yeah, it was a bad snap. I think it was a bad punt snap that went over the kid's head.
All right, let's go to Seminole Life. Wake up, boys. Truly appreciate the off-season talk. It helps the daily driving from job site to job site. No questions today, just fun facts. I went to FSU undergrad from 2004 to 2008. Oof.
Yeesh.
So you should get some of that student activity money back.
He got to see Buster Posey, right? That's something.
Yeah.
Walter Dix. Anyway.
Had a bunch of friends from Polk County up there as well. All right, 863 in the house. At one point, my high school buddies who lived off Jackson Bluff had a roommate who, surprise, surprise, was a one Brett Lemmix. LOL. For whatever reason, I never put this together, but we had a blast during that foggy time period. Look at that, man. Go buy some DeLuna coffee then, Seminole Life. How about that? Second fun fact, and sorry, Aslan, I usually agree with you, but Micah Pittman has been catching passes from a better quarterback than Jordan Travis, IMO, which is, in my opinion, and statistically, LOL. Have a great New Year, fellas, and keep up the great work. I'm not a big fan of Anthony Brown, but I did pull this up.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I did pull this up. Golly. Jordan Travis only threw for 1,500 yards this past season. Anthony Brown threw for nearly 3,000, 29.89. Completed 64% of his passes to Jordan 63. Had 27 total touchdowns versus Jordan's 22. Yeah, by every statistical measure, Anthony Brown had a better year throwing, running than Jordan Travis. So
if you throw in the Jacksonville State game, what is that? Let's say Travis throws for 250 in that game, and it counts for 3 touchdowns. What's that get him up to?
He threw for 15 and ran for 7, so that's 22. So he's 25 touchdowns. He's still behind this kid.
What would that have got him yardage-wise, though? Would that have gotten him to 2,000 yards if he throws for 250 against Jacksonville State?
He had over 2,000. He ran for 530, and he threw for 1,539. So he ran, he had like 2,100 yards almost total. So,
yeah, I will say this, though. No, my point is just passing yards. That wouldn't have gotten him to 2,000.
No, he threw for 1,539.
No, if he'd have played against Jacksonville State and who was the other game he missed? Louisville.
Or NC State.
So then, yeah, you're assuming he he didn't play against NC State either. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, that was the flu game.
All right. Well, so he missed 3 games. So if you even what he averaged, which was probably 180, if he just throws for 180 in those 3 games, he's over 2,000 yards passing and probably close to the touchdowns. Now again, you got to play the games. Like 2 of them weren't his fault. He was I guess. Was he benched against Louisville or just hurt? Wasn't he hurt for the Louisville game because he got hurt against Wake?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not apples to apples though, right? Like he wasn't sharing. Anthony Brown wasn't sharing time with anyone, and I watched that kid play, and I don't see anything real special about him. That said, Jordan Travis hasn't proven to be special through the air yet either. I think that's similar. I don't think it's outlandish to say that Brown has at least proven more at this level than Jordan Travis. But the way Jordan Travis played in some of those games, and I think he's a better runner. I think if you took sack yardage away, my man would have rushed for 750 yards, probably 700 yards, and that's just a weapon that Anthony Brown isn't. But yeah, they got to get better. They got to get better. You can't win 10 games in 2022 college football throwing for 170 yards a game. You've got to find the way to get up to around 250, and you hope maybe 350. Hey, I don't need to put a ceiling on this. Yeah. Maybe he's going to be like that kid at Western Kentucky this year, throw for 62 tutties. But I will, I do think that we'll see what he looks like now that he has some, I don't know, competency out wide. Some guys that can maybe go make plays for him. Let's see what that looks like now. This is a prove-it year for all of them, right? Norvell, Atkins,
absolutely.
Jordan Travis. Like there's no excuse now, right? This first month of 2022 will be, really pivotal for Jordan Travis, but for the whole offense, man. Like it's time to get this thing going. And you got some weapons now. Micah Pittman ain't no joke. Go, and neither is the Wilson kid. Go get him some. Go move the ball and score some points.
I wouldn't say it's a prove it for Alex Atkins. I think he's proved that he can find 5 dudes and make it work. Maybe not be amazing.
Well, I'm just saying because he's the OC.
But this is even more on Mike Norvell now. I mean, now you're calling plays.
Yeah.
So if your
absolutely.
offense is 87th in the nation, year 3. Full transfer portal ability to churn your roster. Problematic at that point. Problematic. But
I was thinking about Jordan Travis. He threw the 3 picks against Notre Dame. 2 of them were just incredible plays by that kid who's going to be a top 5 pick. And then I think his only other 2 interceptions, right, were a Hail Mary. Was it the Hail Mary at the end of Wake Forest where he got lit up? Mm-hmm. I think that might have been an interception. And then the one against Syracuse where the block was missed by McDonald. Yeah. And that DB just made an incredible play on what should be the safest pass in the playbook. Other than that, so that's it. Those were his only picks.
Well, he threw a pick against Florida.
He did?
That's what it says on the on his game logs.
Oh yeah, he did. He left it inside on the. He threw it down the sideline.
Yeah, they were down. They needed to stop the bleeding. It was worth taking a shot. I don't. I mean,
but it wasn't a good throw. That wasn't unlucky. That was a bad throw. He can't leave it inside like that. He deserved that interception. But I'm not. It's not like he threw it right to a safety in the middle of the field. The point being, he did a really good job, I thought, for the most part, of not turning the ball over.
Yes.
He's. I think you wonder, though, is he a little too cautious about interceptions? Because other than guys like Aaron Rodgers, who just is otherworldly, and Brady, these guys, a lot of the really good quarterbacks are going to throw some picks because they're maybe taking chances in the middle of the field that other quarterbacks don't. I wonder if that's the next step. Not him throwing a bunch of picks, but him just trusting what he sees a little more and getting the pass out quicker. So number one, so you're not throwing it directly to a safety, but you trust what you see more. You don't, if the first guy's not open or he's not wide open, you don't scramble around and try to make something happen with your feet. You can still get it in there anyway. You can get it in a tight window anyway. Because the great ones are going to throw some interceptions, man, especially at the college level. So like Stetson Bennett, Aslan. Stetson Bennett's not afraid to throw picks.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
I was trying to look up some stats and keep. Yeah, I like it. All right. Yeah, thank you. Good stuff. Thank you, Seminole Life. Appreciate that. Island Chief.
Wasn't good stuff. You weren't even listening.
I was listening. I was.
But do you think that's I guess my
right.
question was, do you think that's indicative of him not maybe trusting what he sees? Because he was so, it was great. But you also maybe, you can't hit huge shots if you're not willing to take a little bit more chances in the passing game. And maybe now that instead of throwing to 5'9" guys or 5'10" guys, he's throwing to 6'4" and 6'7", he's going to be willing to take more chances downfield, in the middle of the field, or maybe when they're not wide open.
I'd hope so. I mean, again, for your original point, which is usually your most salient, and then for some reason you feel like you need to run out the clock.
Yeah, I just keep talking. I know.
Is that, man, it's 2022 now, actually. We're not going to win football games if he's not throwing for 250 yards a game. We're just not. And I would imagine there's going to be some evolution of this offense with Mike calling plays now and feeling a little bit better about what Jordan can do to where they're not going to be so run dependent. Which, hey, I mean, it worked. I mean, they had to kind of do what they had to kind of do. But I know they pride themselves on they're an offense for playmakers and whoever they'll figure it out. But man, like this, the Brady White kid threw for like 4,000 yards in 2019. Riley Ferguson in 17 threw for 4,200 yards in 2016.
Yeah, they got to figure this out.
I mean, he threw for 3,700 yards, so there needs to be a little bit more robust production through the air.
And that's what I was. Now they had dudes that are in the NFL now at skilled positions, but I was going to say that's what stood out to me about the Parchment throw, the 4th and 14, was clearly that's a risky throw. That's just throwing it to a spot and hoping your guy gets there. But that's the next step. Now you don't want to see those all the time, but he had no choice. He had to rip it in that spot, and he did. He put it right on the money, and therefore you had a 25-yard play or 22-yard play, whatever that was, down to the one that essentially won the game. That, to me, is the next step, is to make more plays in the middle of the field. Don't take chances where you're just giving it to safeties, but guys don't have to be wide open for you to fit it into that window.
Island Chief, wake up. Happy New Year. 2022 holds the promise of potential that is realized and fortune that is good more often than bad. If we average 10 points more a game, that would put us as a top 10 scoring offense. And back to where Mike Norvell's used to being. How close to this can we get? Man, 10 points.
Yeah, that's an enormous jump.
Top
it doesn't
10
sound like it, but that's an enormous jump to score 10 points more a game. I mean, I think 6 to 7 could be realistic. 10, what would that put them at? Like 38, 37 points per game? And it's, what if they score 70 against Duquesne and then 17 against LSU? All right, great. Right. You're averaging 43.5 points per game, but you're 1-1, and against the only real defense, you didn't do much. So you just got to find some consistency, man. Like the Florida game that's not a great defense. You only had 7 points with 10 minutes to go in that game. The Miami game, you struggled at times. There's just too much inconsistency where they would go 4 or 5 drives without doing anything. And then they'd find something. And that works. That's good. You got big plays. But you just hope they find a little bit more of that consistency. They were lacking. And it all comes down to third down conversions. They were awful all year at it. They were terrible at it. You've got to get better at it. The best offenses in the country. I've never looked this stat up, but I can promise you right now, if Aslan went and looked at the top 5 third down conversion offenses in the country, all 5 of them had great offenses. That is the key. Now, is it the chicken or the egg? Are they great at third downs because they're good offenses? Yeah, probably. But still, man, you can't be 31% or whatever Florida State was and go 2 for 12 and 3 for 15 and 4 for 16 and win a bunch of games.
34%, 105th in the nation. Top 5.
That's awful.
Top 5 third down offenses: Coastal Carolina, Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, and Kentucky. 11 wins, 13 wins, 11 wins, 10 wins, 10 wins.
There you go. Man, how about Kentucky, huh? That's a surprise.
Watch out. Here comes Mark Stoops. I mean, they were the number...
Yeah, I see you, Stoops.
Oh, never mind. I thought they were like top 10 total or scoring offense. But yeah, Florida State that's 27.6 points per game this past year, which was 76th, I think. So that'd be a big 74th. I apologize. So that'd be a big jump. Yeah, man. If they went to 37.6 points per game, and that would put them just outside the top 10, to Island Chief's point.
It's also hard to average a ton of points when either A, your defense isn't very good, isn't really good because it's a possession game. Georgia probably gets 5 extra possessions a game than Florida State just because they have so many 3-and-outs. Maybe 6, I don't know. But then also, like, when you're not one of the speed offenses. So they don't play as many possessions as Ole Miss does. Like, right. Ole Miss probably gets 15 possessions a game. Florida State gets 11 or 12. So, yeah, of course you're not going to score as many points. There's only a ceiling. But anyway, I don't know. They're not going to average 10 more points a game, probably. But they need to be better, man, and get better on third down. Figure it out, Mike. Come on. I mean,
if they average 7 more points, that'll put them right outside the top 25. I mean, Miami had 34.1 points per game. Ole Miss 30. It might have more prolific offense than my boy Lane if he averages 7. So that almost feels like almost asking for too much. But hey, I want 10 wins. If things are going to turn around,
man,
the offense is going to be part of it. So how close to 10
I'm really
points?
Intrigued by the Kentucky.
6. I'll say 6. 6.
Oh, 6 more points? We'll
Yes.
take that. I'm really intrigued by Kentucky being top 5 in third down offense. Because they're not a throwing offense. They're not an up and down. How'd they do it? Just go watch their film. Mike, you got 13 games to go figure out how they converted so many third downs. That's not. I was at a game. The only Georgia game I went to this year was that Kentucky game where Kentucky literally down by 26 points in the fourth quarter had a drive that lasted 14 and a half minutes. Converting all types of third and fourth downs. Bunch of 3rd and 3s, bunch of 3rd and 6s, little crossing routes. So go figure that out.
Moving along, next question. Thank you, Island Chief. Nolway85, wake up and Happy New Year. I, like you, Corey, had COVID before the end of the year, but I am fully recovered now and hope you are too. I am ready for spring football. Is it here yet? Nope. April something?
Nope. And I'm not quite. Well, that's the spring game. Yeah. I guess it starts probably early March. Yeah. I'm not quite recovered. Like I said, I feel fine. Just a little bit of cough, and can't taste what I'm eating.
Other than that,
I haven't smelled much. I don't know if I can smell. I need to. Well, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to say that.
There's always this funny thing. Not funny, but it was eye-opening about how what corresponded to the first spike of COVID back in 2020 was a bunch of reviews on Amazon complaining about candles not smelling well. Like everybody was sending their candles back and asking for their money back because they're like, this candle doesn't smell like anything. Yeah, so it's like that was one of those data points. Anyhow, I really like the philosophy Mike Norvell has in getting our recruits and transfers in early. With 10 recruits as early enrollees and maybe 7 or 8 transfers coming in early, when do you get a look first at these guys? Is it during the mat drills that the strength program runs, or do you have access during other conditioning? Aslan, can you do another behind-the-scenes video of the training? That was fantastic last year. Really helps us get insight into the new additions and how much progress they are making. Go Noles.
Yeah, you gonna do that, Aslan?
Nah, I'm good, man. That's I do one PR thing every biannual PR production. That was my biannual PR production.
Oh, okay.
I'm here to do investigative stuff. So
maybe they'll let you coach this year.
What's that?
On the spring, maybe you'll get to coach the spring game.
No. I don't want to do that. That's too much.
You know what? Pressure. You should. Maybe you could get behind the scenes and at least film the whole spring game day, like in the locker room, and
that'd be cool.
Jeff Cameron calling plays or however it works this year.
No,
that would be fun.
I'll do that. I'm game for that. Yeah. No, I'll do something cool and fun. I don't got anything wrong with that. Maybe I'll do. I was thinking about, since we did strength, maybe like their conditioning, agility stuff. I mean, I know it's not nearly as sexy. I mean, but they won't be clothed though. They won't have shirts on, so they'll be sweating.
There you go.
Into that kind
of
stuff.
Sexy then.
But yeah, I don't know the mat drills, because they didn't open it to us last year, but they did in 2020. That's when I was in Bali, so it was like February when they did that. I would
pre-COVID.
Think, yeah. So I would think they'll probably open that back up. The football team seems a little more willing to, give access despite COVID. I mean, they did a lot of stuff. It looked like on the actual. I remember Gene was taking video in 2020 in February of the mat drills, and they were doing some stuff actually outside the IPF. So maybe at least at minimum, they would let us sit up there or stand up at Hauser and watch them. But when they were practicing inside the IPF this past season, we were allowed to walk inside the IPF and watch them practice. It's just when they were out on the actual grass fields, the Al Dunlap practice fields, we'd have to go up to Hauser. So they didn't let us film, though. That was the one, thing that was kind of a bummer. At least they let us shoot for the first few weeks, and then it was like season's running and now no more filming. But hopefully in February, Norway 85, you'll get your first look at these guys doing some of this mat drill stuff. Fourth quarter drills, whatever they call it now. The climb? He calls it the climb, right?
No, they don't call it the fourth quarter drills, wasn't that?
Tour of duty.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's hard to keep track, isn't it? Just off-season conditioning.
Seriously, man. I was thinking about that. All these slogans, how much I hate them, how much how just synthetic and just farcical I think they are. But then some of the stuff,
do you think does every school have its own name for it? I bet they do, right? And there's got to be some repeats.
Yeah, there's a lot of fourth quarter drills. It's called fourth quarter drills for a lot of places. Yeah.
All right.
But I was just thinking more of like the family fit thing that Norvell hammers on. I'm like, come on, man, really? But then, like the Zach Evans kid from TCU goes to Ole Miss, and I don't know if they were after that kid, but maybe there really is. I mean, when you look at guys like Jermaine Johnson and Kier, like they're pretty conscientious young guys. So like maybe there really is, maybe family fit really is a thing though. Like I kind of like roll my eyes when I hear about it. I'm like, dude, just get the best players possible. Period.
Right. Well, look, they're trying to do that too, but at the same time, it would be nice if they fit with the personalities they're trying to get. But they're gonna turn away a 5-star because he's meek. Not that there are many 5-stars that are meek or like he keeps to himself. You know what I mean? There are people like that maybe don't have a ton of friends, but they're incredible freak talents. They're not going to say no to that. But I do think it's something he believes in. I don't. Of course, I think it says more about you that you roll your eyes at it than it does Norvell. But yes, it's awesome that Jermaine Johnson believed in the family and Keir Thomas. It was more awesome that they were really good football players.
Yes, correct. I just wonder, like, if Caleb Williams, like, if you have room in the payroll for him, but he's kind of a jerk. You're like, well, just don't want that around my guys. Yeah, you threw for 21 and 4 picks as a freshman, and but just you're not likable.
I don't think that. So, but what about like Antonio Brown?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing.
Yeah. So you may there's some that maybe are.
I rolled my eyes past
the bridge is a little too far.
But then
That's right. You're different now.
I've seen the wisdom of it. Jermaine Johnson's. They're out there. They can play and they're good dudes.
Boneless wings gone wild. Zaxby's all-new Buffalo Garlic Blaze. Saucy, savory, spicy, spectacular. Try it on the new Buffalo Garlic Blaze Boneless Wings meal. Comes with fries, Texas toast, and a drink. Only at Zaxby's.
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's indescribably good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
Warpath Knoll, wake up. Happy New Year, fellas. Thank you, Warpath Knoll. So when do coaches' contracts actually expire? Will they replace Ron Dugans? If so, with who? Thanks for all you do. Have a great year. I should look that up. I think we have their contracts somewhere here, maybe. I don't know. I feel like they're sticking around, Corey. I don't know. They're not gone by now. I mean, I just don't know what are you waiting for, right? What are you waiting for at this juncture? Because you have a new offensive coordinator.
I don't know.
If you're going to have new position coaches, you probably want everybody to gel as best as you possibly can. So, and February is right around the corner. You're going to be doing these off-season conditioning drills. So let them start putting their fingerprints on their new charges. So if it hasn't happened yet,
I mean, I know Dugan's got a lot of grief, and deservedly so, I guess, for not bringing in a receiver in the early signing period. Well, they've signed 3 since. So he's brought it. There is talent coming, and it would be weird now after you've brought in these 3 guys and said, hey, this is your position coach. I assume he helped recruit them, however recruiting works in the portal, to then fire him. That just seems like that would have been something that happened before you got 3 guys in the portal. So no, I would be, at this point, it would be odd unless he got another job, a promotion or something. Go be the OC somewhere, a receivers coach for Jimbo, and make $1 million a year. I don't know why they would. I don't know why you'd let him go at this point. And he did. I mean, look, we can all him and haw about the high school guys, but he brought. They had a need at wide receiver, and he brought in 3 of them. 3 at least 2 kind of highly touted dudes. So what do you want from the guy, everyone, other than, his guys to produce on Saturdays, which is the next step. That's what we're looking for in 2022, Ron.
Looking at his original contract when Willie brought him on, it was signed on the 1st of April, and it ran until January 31st, 2021. So I don't know if they let that one expire, and then they each contract year during the total term hereof shall begin on February 1st and end the following January 31st. So whatever he signed back last year was probably February 1st. So
Sure.
I'll assume that he's got 24 more days or however many days are left in January on that one. So,
Yeah.
but again, so maybe that'll give him the time to reassess where he's at that point. But to Corey's point, he's brought in some dudes, and I just don't know.
And if they fire him, I would replace him with Travis Hunter. He could be a player coach. I don't think we've ever gotten clarification. I want to ask Norvell, maybe even off to the side after he's done talking to us on signing day. Can a kid enter the portal before he's actually played a game or been on the campus?
Yeah, right.
Like, when does that start? When are you allowed to enter the portal? It's probably something I could look up. But my computer doesn't have Google. But there's got to be some limitations. Otherwise, what's even the point of the NIL or the NLI? That's confusing, isn't it? To send your letter of intent in and then be immediately eligible to go to the portal. But I assume you can. Like, what if you sign with a team? What if you sign with Michigan on December 15th, and then Harbaugh bounces to go coach the Raiders 3 weeks later? You're not beholden to them. I mean, you're not tied down to them. I assume you can go hit the portal.
No,
So, yes, my answer to that would be I would hire Travis Hunter as the receivers coach and pay him whatever you're paying Dugans.
Noles fan from South Florida. Wake up! Hey, fellas, long time since I typed up a question, but listen to the show daily. All right, we'll accept it. The screen name is self-explanatory. From the paradise of the state, but I don't wear orange and green, and hail from the same hometown and high school as Kevin Noles. Hollywood.
There you
Hollywood's
go.
Here. As I'm typing this, I realize it's the 8-year anniversary of the national title game versus Auburn. I remember that whole day, from the anxiousness all day to the up and down battle that night on the field, to the tears in my eyes as I saw my beloved program pull off an undefeated season and the best Florida State team I've ever personally seen. And I've witnessed all three of them. The title teams, that is. Who would have known all these years later FSU would go through 4 straight sub-500 seasons and 3 head coaches in less than a decade? My question to you, none of us, Noel fan for something, none of us. Wasn't supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
My question to you
thanks
both.
a lot, Jimbo.
Hey, come on. My question to you both is, what were your feelings on where you feel the program was going right after that game? For me, the following morning, after gladly going to work with a hangover, I thought that FSU was going to have a rerun of the dynasty. Jimbo would be here for 20 years, and at least one more national championship was on the horizon. Would like to hear your thoughts.
I mean, the only way I can frame it, I guess, is I thought they would do what Clemson ended up doing.
Yeah.
You know, I thought they'd run out the rest of the decade like Clemson wound up running out the rest of the decade. They had most of the guys from that, or a lot of the important pieces from the 13 team coming back, including the Heisman Trophy winner. You knew Jernigan was probably going to leave and Kelvin was going to leave. But other than that, most everybody was coming back. Telvin was a senior, but most everybody was coming back. And yeah, well, Joyner was a senior too, so was PJ. No, PJ wasn't. But anyway, a lot of guys coming back. So I'm like, okay, 14 will be as good as 13, probably more dominant. That didn't turn out to be the case. And then it slowly started leaking oil, and then 17 happened, and the ship blew up. So yes, that I don't know if I had a win total or a championship total, or even thinking Jimbo would be. I didn't think Jimbo would be here 20 years.
Yeah.
But I thought he'd be out I thought he'd be here another 10, because buddy, you've got it set. You've got this thing on cruise control. You just keep doing what you're doing in this conference. Keep getting the best quarterback in the country, which you should, because you just had 3 first-round picks, including a Heisman winner. That train should never stop running. And then you'll be good to go till 2021, 2022. Maybe he wants to go coach in the NFL. Maybe at that point LSU comes open. He looks for a different challenge, something like that. But I would have assumed they would have at least run out the decade as one of the 5 best programs in the country. I mean, it's astonishing it didn't happen with everything that was in place. But it as you guys know, it actually did not happen. It did not keep running like we thought it would.
And if somebody would have came to me that night or the next morning, like January 7th, 2014 in Pasadena at the house that me and my buddies were all staying at, like, hey, I'm from the future. I'm going to tell you 2 things. One of them's true. Like, Florida State's going to go on and win 4 more national titles in the next 8 years, or they're going to have 4 losing seasons. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna do this 4 more times, everybody. I don't have enough money.
it wouldn't have
I
been
don't have enough money for the tickets and everything. How are we gonna do this? It's awesome. But yeah, I know. I thought,
wouldn't have even been a thought.
yeah, wouldn't even have flinched. That's where
I mean,
that's where
think
I
about
was.
it. Like I remember, we were out there. Ira and I were out there first for that game. I think we got out there New Year's Eve maybe for that game because there was a little bit of a media availability at Disneyland with Jimbo, and it was the day that Dalvin committed to Florida State. But Dalvin had already sent his letter in for some reason, I guess because he was enrolling, or I can't remember what the deal was. But Jimbo was allowed to talk about him publicly, about the commitment, because he had signed. It was official.
The Aiden Grant, I think that's when that Aiden Grant letter thing kind of started becoming a thing where like you could submit your paperwork. But yeah, carry on.
So I'm sitting there talking to this guy that has the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the country, about to go play for the national championship. He just landed Dalvin Cook. And Jameis Winston's only a sophomore, or only a freshman, I'm sorry. And you're like, I mean, this is what Alabama thought it was going to be. This is incredible. Like, there was nothing but good news. In those next 2 classes, they got good players. But yeah, they didn't get a quarterback. That might have been when it started wobbling. With the first poke in the oil was the quarterback situation. But then obviously, clearly, it wasn't whatever. Even Jimbo being there, like 17 happened. Even with Jimbo running the ship, I didn't think that was a possibility. Much less what ended up happening. So yeah, man, look what Jimbo's doing at A&M, thanks to some hefty boosters, and also he's a very good recruiter and he's a good coach. That all matters. A&M's probably going to be top 10 here, pretty soon, and maybe for a while. But man, he had a chance here at Florida State, didn't he? I mean, again, Texas A&M might be awesome. They have not won a national championship since Wizard of Oz was in the theaters. In the theaters. Not on TBS. In the actual movie theaters, 1939. That's the last time A&M won a national championship in football. Florida State was set up for great success for years with a guy who knew how to do it and had done it in an easier conference. And it just fell off the cliff. It's a shame. But you know what? We're climbing back up. We're climbing back up the cliff.
Random_John. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. I wish you both prosperity, health, and an FSU Baseball World Series title for 2022. I'll take that.
There you go.
Let's go back to Omaha, man. I miss it. Football is done until spring. Baseball is not yet started in our basketball team. Well, let us not talk about that just now. We need to bring in, no need to bring in negativity to the new year. Let us just move along to my question. In all of both of your histories, beyond winning a lot, what do you miss about your experiences at Doak Campbell Stadium from your younger days? Random_John says, for me, it's the old spirit spear. I love the crowd going nuts and the light rising with the sound. It felt like the crowd was really part of the team in those crazy loud moments. I was a kid at the time, and one could feel the energy in the stadium as the light climbed and climbed. Oh, what a time to be a kid falling in love with this team. It's hard to believe where we have been and where we are since that 1984 introduction of the Spirit Spear, or as the guy in the broadcast called it, the Spirit Stick. What do we miss most?
Yeah.
It says, Happy New Year, everybody. Drink the Luna. Hork down, Zaxby's. I've never heard that. Hork down. Never heard that. Subscribe to War Chant and go Noles. Yeah,
the
just
Spirit
winning,
Spear's
man.
a good one.
Just the winning, man.
You miss the winning, yeah. But you also don't cheer. You don't get to cheer in the stands anymore. Neither one of us do, so that's not fun. I miss my dad. Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
But a lot of good times in that stadium with my old man. I miss the balloons on Saturday night, Aslan. You're too young for that.
Yeah, I am.
But back in the day, because all their games were night games, which was awesome. But back in the day in the 80s, they would release balloons right at kickoff or right when the spear was getting planted. I don't know. A bunch of balloons would go in the air. That was cool. And then it turned out some birds were dying. So what are you going to do? You know, we got to save the birds. Can't have any fun at football anymore because the birds are dying. No, I'm just kidding. Clearly, that's that is important. You don't want to kill animals. But yeah, that was always fun too. That's something that a lot of people don't remember is the balloons being released up into the wild on a Tallahassee Saturday night. I just miss those games. I miss the games with my dad. The Saturday night games with my dad were a lot of fun.
I mean, I didn't really see all that much winning. I mean, I was here 2001 through 4, so it wasn't the best of times. But 2005, we were okay for 6 weeks. 2003, we were all right for about 5 weeks. Then we came back.
Yeah.
It was cool, being a Florida State fan. It comes back to the winning thing. But it's late October, it's early November, and whatever, you've lost a game, you're 9th, 10th in the country, but it's like, all right, we just need these things to happen, and we can make it back into the BCS. I mean, and now, I'd look back at my younger self and like, you're such an idiot, like you're way too optimistic. That's not the way life works. But yeah, I just they're going to start it this year by winning their first game of the season for the first time since 2016, which is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Although it's Duquesne, so it's not going to really feel all that great. But LSU's definitely a winnable game. Just, I know I'm saying 10 wins. I don't even know what that means. I mean, if you lose 2 games, but you lose to Florida and Miami in magnificent fashion, or Clemson and Miami or Florida, then it's like, how great do you really feel? I know it's still 10 wins. I'll feel great probably. Like, just November, just give me like hope. Just give me a hope in October that,
How about be ranked? How about just be ranked at some point?
All right, there we go.
Just be ranked again. That's a goal. That's an aspirational goal that can actually be achieved. That should be Norvell's resolution. Just get ranked at some point in the middle of the season. Be ranked.
Well, let's go to this one then. It's our guy Mark down in Naples. M. Adams, CZ. Wake up! Corey, I think on Seminole Headlines this week you went out on a limb with a 2022 win prediction. You predicted wins. You don't even do that on this show. You said 8. I like it. I agree, says Mark. I would be slightly concerned with only 7 wins and really scratching my head with 6 or less and another trip to El Paso, although Aslan and Ira will get to visit that steakhouse again. Cattleman's Ranch, baby. We have filled a lot of needs in the portal. Jordan should be even better in 2022 behind an ever-improving offensive lineman. And, hey, Micah Pittman will be catching and returning punts. Yay, punt returns. P.S. Can we get Tom Lang to record a register sausage commercial that doesn't end in yay sausage? That's part of the charm, I thought, right?
Yeah, that's their catchphrase.
Yeah. To me, Mark continues, the question marks are running back and defensive line. If I could interject real quick, if your question mark is running back, then, I mean, come on. That's great. Who cares, really? Running backs are running backs. If you're not, I'm sorry, man, if you're not Dalvin Cook, then you're just another guy. Can Trayshawn Ward be our feature back with success, or would Toafili finally be able to step into that role? And can we somewhat replace the production from 11 and 4, that'd be Jermaine and Kier, on the defensive line? Tall task, I know. Do you agree those are the question marks, or are there other more pressing questions for a season of 8 wins or better? Happy New Year to you both. Genuinely appreciate you. Genuinely appreciate you.
Hey, thanks. Well, you're genuinely appreciated as well. Defensive end for sure is the biggest need. It is the biggest question mark, and I think it will have the biggest impact on whether this is a good season or another average to below average season. Will be what they end up getting there, whether production-wise. You imagine it'll be somebody from the portal or 2 guys from the portal, but maybe these guys just take huge leaps, the guys on the roster. But you have to get some production there. You cannot go back to Kane Doe and really just Kane Doe. At least Janarius had some moments and made some sacks and touched the quarterback occasionally. Hey, but you just can't go back to get. Kane Doe
have a strip sack against UNC? Suck it, Sam.
No, it was a pick 6.
Pick 6? All right.
It's a pick 6. No, that would have been a sack. He didn't have any sacks. So you've got 3. You went from your starting defensive ends in 2020 having 3 sacks, all by one guy, to this year your starting defensive ends, I think, having 20 sacks. So find somewhere in the middle, man. Just be able to make an impact and affect the quarterback. If you don't affect that Miami quarterback, he is going to light you up. Same with probably 2 or 3 other guys on this schedule coming up. The NC State kid, he's coming back. He will light you up if you don't affect the quarterback. So you have to go find guys that can do that. That's the number one name of the game in having a good defense, is affecting the quarterback. So find it. But other than that, running back, I guess now that they've hit wide receiver, I don't know that you necessarily don't have the guys on your roster that can get it done. They're just, other than Ward, not really proven. Toafili, I thought it was a real disservice, that last play against Clemson. That knocked him out for the next 2 weeks. It seemed like he was kind of coming into his own a little bit, making some plays, and then he's knocked out for 2 weeks and slowed with another injury. So he's a wild card coming into 2022. He's the guy they've liked a lot. He's the guy they thought was probably going to be a bigger part of their offense in 2021, and it didn't materialize because the other two guys were good and he wasn't great. But don't you think he got better as the season wore on and showed some, at least a flash or two, mainly the Clemson play, but there were other plays, other moments where you're like, oh, yeah, okay, Toafili's got some wiggle to him, man. Toafili might beat something. So, yeah, if there's a great running back out in the portal, go get him. But otherwise, I think they feel okay with what they have on the roster with Ward and in Toafili, and then I guess DJ Williams is coming back. So you got three guys that can, we assume, play at this level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need four running backs. I just need two guys, so I'm fine there. But yeah, I mean, if you're walking into a locker room as a coach, like somebody hands you a clipboard, like, hey man, you got a pretty good quarterback. Like, we think he'll be okay. Just be cool with him. Like, don't play mind games with him. He'll be all right. We got some guys that can catch the ball and maybe do some things after the catch. And your offensive line's pretty good. But your running backs, you don't have anybody that's like, first round, first day, second day potential. I mean, I don't care. He's got two legs that can function. Does he not fumble the ball? All right, good. That's all I need. So yeah,
there you go.
They're good on offense, man. They have all the pieces in place on offense to score 5-6 points more and be a top 30 scoring offense. All the pieces are there. Yes, defensive line, defensive ends. If they cannot find a way to finagle the production from those two dudes, it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to offset or how it works, but it just won't be a good thing, obviously. But they've got time to figure it out with the portal being open until, golly, who knows, until kickoff practically these days. So they realize it. They saw how much of an improvement Jermaine and Kier did for them. They realize they need to replace that, and they're not going to tell us that they don't think they have it in the locker room right now, but I can't imagine they're not doing everything they can to possibly replace all that. But, yeah, that's the big question marks. 8 wins. Huh? Look at you, Corey. I like that. 8 wins. Not bad. All right,
it was mainly like I was saying, like, I don't know that I predicted that. I guess somebody asked us that, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I would have said that. And then Jeff, of course, was like, I don't know. And I'm like, man, at some point, you got to start winning games. Like, this roster isn't an embarrassment to football anymore.
Correct.
You've got Division I. You've got a better offensive line. You've got Division I wide receivers. You've got a quarterback that can play and has played well in big moments. And you've got a defense. You know now, especially with Jamie Robinson coming back, you've got a bunch of guys coming back from a 5-win team that they lost 7 games, which is not great. Well, 5 of those 7 losses were to 10-win teams. And none of them were blowouts, I guess, except for the Wake Forest game where you turned it over 25 times. But every other game you were in, and this was with not as good a roster. This roster in 2022 will be better than it was in 2021. And if it wasn't, then what are we doing here? If it isn't, what are we doing here? It is going to be better. You lost 2 defensive ends, which are huge losses, but those are your only big losses, really, at least for right now. So at some point you got to start expecting improvement on the field. The roster is going to be better. There aren't a ton of excuses anymore. It's year 3 or 2.5, however you want to phrase it, with a quarterback with experience, with receivers that can play. We think 1 million tight ends, a secondary that should be that's not terrible already and should be better. You got better at linebacker. And that was my point. Is like, I think it was, we talked about LSU. And he's like, you think Florida State can go beat LSU? And I'm like, man, I don't even know who's on LSU's team. This is 2022. I don't know what their roster is going to look like. I know they're going to be a brand new coach, a brand new coordinator, a brand new quarterback starting for the first time. Florida State will have a game under its belt and more experience. And this is more in line with a roster you would expect at a Division I university, a bowl team. This is a bowl team roster. They put together a roster that's a bowl team. Now, is it a 10-win team? Probably not. Is it a championship team? No. But it's got enough pieces now where you can't just go in every season and think, we're just not good enough. It's like, well, man, you've got as much talent going into next year as NC State. Maybe more. So it's time to do something with it. So yeah, I'm gonna die on that 8-win hill.
Good.
It's not asking a ton, Aslan.
Yes, it's
not asking a ton.
No, you got
to win some games.
Absolutely. Two more. Nole Nation 19. Good morning, gentlemen. Happy New Year's. Been listening to the show religiously now for about 3 years, but I've never posted until now. I know how this goes, so first things first. Lifelong FSU fan from Memphis, Tennessee, who has more famous people that could ever be listed, but I'll rattle off some of the important ones. B.B. King. Mm-hmm. Some people in Mississippi might want to fight you for that one. Jerry Lawler.
Oh, is he not from Memphis?
I thought he was born in like Indianola. I thought he was born in the Delta.
Maybe. I mean, he got famous at Memphis,
Yes,
right? But maybe he on Beale Street, I assume. But maybe he was. Yeah, you go. You keep. I'm going to look that up.
B.B. King, Jerry Lawler, Ric Flair, Justin Timberlake, Michael Orr, and starting third baseman and World Series champion of our Atlanta Braves, Austin Riley. Even though he's technically not from Memphis, we still claim him for his accomplishments here. Well, he's not from Memphis then, man. He's from Mississippi. Stop trying to steal everybody from Mississippi, man. He went to like DeSoto Central High School, I think. And our very own head football coach, Mike Norvell, who I'm very biased for because of my love for both FSU and Memphis football. I don't come bearing any questions, only to say that 2022 for me is all about overexcitement and extreme optimism. I can't wait for the deep run in Omaha, followed by the football team getting back to double-digit wins with a clean sweep of all three of those gaudy orange-wearing teams on the schedule. Go Noles. Yes, dream the big dream. 10 wins, Omaha.
That was a good list. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that Florida State can do. That was a good list, by the way. And I feel like I don't know that Justin Timberlake was born in Memphis, but he probably on the outskirts maybe. But, I think Memphis can claim him, just like Atlanta claims Outkast. They weren't born in Atlanta proper, I don't think. They didn't live in Atlanta proper. They lived in DeKalb County, I'm pretty sure. But they're still Atlanta. But I did look up B.B. King. You're right. He was born in Mississippi and then lived in Indianola. That was his home. And then until he was 4, and then Kilmichael, Mississippi.
Okay.
But he moved to Memphis when he was 21.
Okay. All right. Split custody. Think you could maybe lose some split custody.
Yeah. I think I get that you could claim him. Hopefully, there's something named for him in all those cities. You would think.
I think there's a trail like the B.B. King Blues Trail. I think in Mississippi, like around there, where he's like in the Delta. So. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was like when I think I was in Mississippi when he passed away. Like it was. Man, it was. It was like the president died. I mean, they did the whole entire thing was, was amazing. All right, last one. Lamel 1. Who's this person? Subscribe in 2018. Good time to join.
Okay.
Hey, losers. Of course, I'm only kidding. You guys are the best. I could never quit you. Since college football has apparently decided to be a lesser version of pro football, it's become obvious. We need a commissioner. Question. Where do you see this individual coming from? From what profession? NFL, college, a politician, or whatever other ideas your brilliant minds can produce? Thanks for the awesome content. Peyton Manning.
Yeah, that's not I don't know. Like I was going to say, it doesn't need to be like a former head coach. I don't even know if it needs to be a former player. It's just got to be somebody with some intelligence, right? Like, I do think you need to take an IQ test.
A Wonderlic.
I just can't have somebody in that. I can't. Because, look, man, we all know politicians who couldn't pass a 5th grade civics test. All of them. Not all of them. Many of them. I need somebody that has an IQ that I can trust, that has some real critical thought, and can make decisions for the better of the sport without people that don't have the best interest of the sport at heart telling them the right thing to do. I don't need an empty suit. I need somebody that will actually do the right thing by the sport. And that includes, at least, I don't know. I don't know what my IQ threshold would be. I guess I would just know it when I see it. Like, give me a 130 or something. We'll take that. But mainly, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what line of work they would come in from. David Stern, by all accounts, was one of the best commissioners in the history of sports. From what he turned the NBA into in the late 70s and early 80s, when legitimately the NBA finals were being shown on tape delay.
Yeah.
Legitimately, like the flipping Lakers and Sixers are being shown on tape delay, or the Trailblazers and whoever they were playing with Bill Walton, to then what it became just 5-7 years later with Magic and Bird and Michael. Those guys helped, but Stern helped it too. Like just somebody with some forethought, somebody with some critical thought, and knows what's in the best interest of the. And he was a lawyer. David Stern was a lawyer. I don't know what his basketball background was, but it wasn't much. So just go find somebody that you trust, that's smart, and can make good decisions for most people involved. I don't know how you find that out. Did you know, by the way, you remember Bart Giamatti? He was the Major League Commissioner. Yeah. And he's the one that suspended Pete Rose.
Yep.
His son is Paul Giamatti. Do you know that? The actor?
No, really?
Yeah.
No
That's
kidding.
his dad.
Ah.
Yeah. Interesting, right? So maybe Paul Giamatti wants to be a commissioner. Just show me you literally, like, just somebody that has the best interest of the sport at heart. I don't know that you need to go get a former AD. I don't know that you need to go get a former. You just got to have somebody that can look at a situation and go, wait, what are y'all doing here? This makes no sense. Well, it's how it's always been done. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you go look at what college football is now, and they're all supposed to be on the level playing field, but yet two conferences are getting $25 million more per school than the other teams they're competing against. That's not equitable. So what we're going to do, this is Corey Clark as commissioner, we're going to take all these TV contracts and bundle them up, and they're going to total whatever they total. For the Power 5, they're going to total $2.1 billion a year, whatever. I just made that number up. And then we're going to divvy it up by every school in the Power 5, and they all get the same cut. You don't like it? I get it. It's not fair. Is it communism? Sure. The Cowboys make the same amount of money from the NFL TV contract as the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They all get the same cut. Nobody's screaming about communism in that sport, and that sport is awesome, and it's the most watched sport in the country. And everybody feels like they can win every 3 or 4 years. That's what, if we're going to go the professional route, which is clearly where we're heading, we're already there, we've got to make it equitable. We can't still be an amateur, quote-unquote, sport, and yet one team gets $50 million more to spend than another team when they're trying to compete for the same championship. So that was my spiel. I don't know who needs to listen to that, but if you want to send that off to the powers that be,
there we go.
To make Corey Clark the commissioner, I'm all for it.
Corey
I think I would be a good commissioner, Aslan.
Corey the commissioner, Commissioner Clark.
I think I'm pragmatic enough. Yeah, I want Travis Hunter to be a player coach. That's fine.
Yeah.
I got some outlandish ideas.
Hey, progressive.
But it is progressive. But overall, I feel like I know what's good for the sport because I love the sport. That's the number one thing. That's what I'm going to say. You have to find someone that loves the sport. Not a bean counter, not somebody that grew up in New York. No offense to people in New York, but they don't know college football. They don't live and die and breathe college football like the people like us that grew up in the South. I know there's some people in New York that would disagree with me, probably listening to the show. I apologize. You might love it, but it's got to be somebody that just understands the importance of college football and the passion of it and what we grew up with, and try to figure out a way to get back to that without, undermining a player's ability to make money now that it's $1 billion industry. So those would be my goals.
I'll tell you off air
what about
who
you,
I think
Aslan?
should be the commissioner. I won't say because it'll be too controversial. It's political. So,
I
but the thing
thought you were going to say Ira.
No.
That
He's
would've
just
been- I
going
would
to stack.
slap
Well,
that out of
maybe
your
he'll
hand.
stack everything in Florida State's favor. So let's do that. Let's get out
Yeah.
on there. It just in the professional sports, like those owners pick the commissioner. Like Roger Goodell works
Yes.
for Mark Davis and Shad Khan and everybody. Like, how are they going? So they're going to have to do this Power 5 autonomous, whatever it is, 60 teams, and then is it the 60 presidents? Is it the 60 ADs? Those guys come and go. Even presidents come and go so fast. At least with the NFL teams, those owners, Jerry Jones, Wellington Mara, for better or worse, Daniel Snyder, like these guys have been around for decades. No offense, but like Florida State's president shouldn't have a say so. Florida State's president's only been here for like 6 months. He'll probably be here for like 3 or 4 years. And he's going to be the guy that's going to determine who gets to be the commissioner of sports, and same thing with AD. So I don't even know like what group you would pick to then vote for the commissioner. And I almost kind of think like to the antithesis of your sort of suggestion, like maybe get someone who is not involved in college athletics. Someone can just look at it totally unbiased from just total financial perspective. How do we grow the sport, as opposed to like someone who knows how important the pageantry is to the people from Auburn, Alabama to Mobile, Alabama to Wauchula, Florida, to, like to the swamps. Like maybe we don't need all that. Maybe we just need somebody who's totally pragmatic and just be like, all right, let's, like you said, all right, let's split the money evenly. Let's figure out a way to get an expanded playoff so we can play this and settle it on the field. So maybe it would have to be somebody that doesn't have, much skin in the game. So I don't know, but
I have skin in the game, right? Like I grew up with foot. I was just talking about I don't think you need a head coach or an acting AD or a former AD. I don't think you need somebody that maybe was involved in college. I mean, I wasn't involved in college athletics, but I know college football, and I think I know what's best for college football. I'm not. This isn't a stump speech. I'm not starting my campaign.
Do it.
But I think you can find people like that are like-minded. That even if they went to Auburn or they went to Texas, they can be fair-minded enough to know what's good for the whole country.
I know, but you just said you don't care about people in New York. I mean, so you want to keep the sport regionalized and give preference to the teams in the South?
I think you need to have somebody that understands what college football is, that it is different than the NFL. It's not just about chasing the biggest buck. It shouldn't be anyway. It is, but it shouldn't be. There is something different and unique about it that separates it from the NFL. And as we move forward, I think that line of delineation needs to be found between the NFL and college. And I don't know if you get a guy that went to Columbia that has never been inside Tiger Stadium in LSU or Death Valley or Doak or the Coliseum. I don't know that they maybe know what's best for college football or can understand what college football is, maybe to somebody that grew up with it. And I shouldn't say New York. Like, I'm sure they're very passionate Syracuse fans. I just want somebody that is ingrained in the sport and grew up rooting for it. But yeah, again, I know people hear that like, oh, where are they going to split up the money for? The NFL does it. The Jacksonville Jaguars make as much money on the NFL's $1 billion contract, $10 billion contract, as the Dallas Cowboys do. They spend the exact same money, on their roster as the Patriots do. Now, they don't do well with it.
Well, not the exact
but
same.
They get the exact same amount of money.
Yeah.
And they don't bring in any money to the NFL. Or they don't bring a ton of money. They certainly don't bring in the amount of money in viewership to the NFL as the Cowboys do. But they're still on the same playing field. So, look, they both won the same amount of Super Bowls in the last 30 years, right? 25 years? Hey, that's a little shout out to the Cowboys fans out there. But so I just think that has to happen because right now there's nobody steering the ship. And you've seen what this last 6 months has been like. You've got to find somebody that can steer the ship, that is respected. But yeah, I don't know who votes for him. I assume it has to be the Power 5 schools that do it. But yeah, I don't know how that first domino falls to even get people to vote on something like that. But it desperately needs to happen.
I remember I remember thinking about baseball. We need to wrap it up here. But I remember thinking like a guy like Peter Gammons, like 10, 15 years ago. Like I would have been totally fine if like Peter Gammons was like the commissioner of baseball. Like maybe like Tim Kirkjian. Like who's that guy in college? I don't know, like Ivan Mizell. I don't even know like who's that one dude. It's not. I mean, Tony Barnhart calls himself Mr. College Football, but like there isn't
probably Paul Feinbaum. Don't you think? Maybe get Feinbaum on there. No, I don't know who that would be. I don't know if there's a journalist out there, but I see what you're saying. I don't know. Herb Street. Yeah. He made a lot of friends this week. Maybe him. There are people out there, man, that really do care about the sport and would have some really good ideas of how to move forward. And I just hope they're listened to because right now it is I was going to say it's a blind man at the ship. There's nobody at the wheel. It's just going wherever this thing goes. And there's not literally, I'm not joking, folks. Florida State could fire Ron Dugans tomorrow and offer the receivers coach position to Travis Hunter. What would stop him? And maybe he couldn't be it because he doesn't have a degree yet. So you'd say he's a quality control analyst? But you could pay him $600,000 to appear in commercials and coach your team. And also, go catch touchdowns. There's no rules prohibiting this. None that would be enforced anyway, because the NCAA they packed up their bags and left. So we're out here, navigating all this by ourselves, looking for a lighthouse, and there are none, because there's nobody steering the ship. I've said it again. That's it. I'm done. I'm done, Aslan. I'm done. Corey Clark for commissioner. When do you think we get this by 2026?
Oh, well, before that, brother, we're good, man. We got the power of the internet. We do a show 3 times a week. Man, we get this thing rolling in 2023.
Yeah, but I mean, we got to get the will of the people to demand a commissioner, number one, and then it would be me, number two. Because there's going to be a lot of pushback. People are going to maybe show me dumping myself with champagne, saying crazy things. I got some skeletons in the closet, but I think overall, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. But overall, I think I'd be great for the sport. So if you guys want to go ahead and push that, maybe make a YouTube video. Corey Clark, next college football commissioner, ? Go for it.
He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.